Also, the field natural language processing would be generally involving the task or the processes which will be assisting the human beings in order to perform the actions or the methodologies on the textual data. So, as a word natural language comes up, it will be generally dealing with the natural language, either written in the form of a text or it would be written in the or it will be in the form of voice. So it will be generally dealing with the linguistic of the human beings, right? So, so this NLP on an overview is a system or a machine which can perform these activities. So the activities such as, like, if you feed a certain information or a data on a particular domain, or if you feed it as a knowledge store, then this natural language processing or the machine should able to extract the data or fetch the data from that knowledge store and give it to the end user. Or if you want to fetch the data or any analytical data or the user related data, and if the end user wants the data to be displayed, then this natural language processing system should fetch that data and display it to the end user. And suppose if you want the system to perform certain activities, such as to trigger a mail, to send a mail, to set an alarm, or to perform certain activities through the voice control, then the NLP system should be able to capture that voice responses and render that to the end user. So in this picture, you can get an overview or an idea on how this NLP involved in helping the human beings to perform certain activities or certain tasks related to the textual data. So, as of now, we got an idea about what NLP is. So, to perform any task that is dealing with the text involving NLP technology, then we have to face certain challenges or we have to perform certain steps before the machine is ready to do the task. In other words, the machine or the algorithm which we need to build should be able to process the data, right? So there are certain steps or the prerequisites before you are training your algorithm in order to make that language or the algorithm to understand your language, right? So there are pre-processing or the pre-steps which are very much necessary before you commence the task of building a NLP system. So in this session, I'm going to just overview about the major challenges that are involved in a text analysis, or in other words, challenges involved in building a NLP solution. So on my screen you could see these are the challenges which one could face when he starts with the approach of building a NLP solution. So I am taking a generic example. Like suppose if you want to build an NLP to perform a text classification or a document categorization, or you can say you want to build a voice assistant which can trigger a mail or perform certain actions based on the voice commands. So so it may be any task which involves the natural languages or natural language processing. These are the overview or the high level three challenges which the user or the machine will face in order to build the system. So to list it out, the very first one is the lexical ambiguity, and the second one is syntactic ambiguity. Third one is semantic ambiguity. So as a word, ambiguity pictures into confusions regarding the given word, sentence, or a paragraph, anything you can say. So ambiguity it will define into a picture of confusions, right? So what these confusions basically mean. So the human language or the natural language is not so simple, because when we human beings conversation, like we commence into some conversation, it depends on which person we are trying to talk with, right? So suppose if you take a nursery class student, and if you try to explain him about a scientific explanation about how a rocket is built, then there is a there is no proper communication bridge, or there is no medium of communication to make that child of nursery to feed the data which is spoken about rocket science. It is there is a far bridge between these two things, right? So you can't make it to understand that the nursery child to what the person is speaking about. So it completely depends on what status, like what steps the two human beings stand, right? So if you take a IT guy, and if you start conversation with the IT guy in IT terms, then it will be very easy to communicate those things or the ideas to that IT guy about the technical aspects or any conversation related to the IT. So it is the generic scenario about human beings. So what about the machine? So even in the human beings, we have like different terms, or we have different uh, understanding based on his pre or the pre-knowledge, what we can say. So a person has encountered different words, different sentences throughout his life or her life before commencing a conversation. So he might be coming from a different background, having different knowledge about the words, sentences. Then even if you start conversation with that person, he might be understanding the things differently based on the context he has undergone, right? So these ambiguities are very generic or very common even with the human beings. So why not the machines may face the same ambiguities, right? So as a human beings, we have certain pre-trained or pre-acquisition language. But what about the machines? Even machines face these kind of ambiguities before they get out into a well-developed natural language processing machine. So these ambiguities are the major criteria or the hurdles which a person or a developer may face in order to develop a NLP solution. So I will explain these three ambiguities with each example for